The way that wars have been fought has constantly changed, though the way that we understand wars has largely remained the same. Here at the University of Bath, we're interested in how new forms of warfare are changing in terms of where they're changing, how they're changing, and why they're changing. In looking at the relationship between war technology and society, we're particularly interested in how the future of warfare will unfold.
The starting point for understanding how technology has transformed war is the Industrial Revolution of the late 19th century. By the late 19th century, the character of warfare had fundamentally changed as a result of a number of key technological innovations. For example, railways, telegraphs, smokeless fuel, breech-loading artillery. All of these created a much more lethal battlefield. The First World War saw the effects of these cumulative technological changes and led to what's being called the birth of modern warfare, an attempt to create a new military doctrine to deal with this much more lethal battlefield. The 20th century has seen further important technological innovations. The invention of the internal combustion engine was one. A second was the dawn of the nuclear age. The invention of nuclear weapons has created a potential for nuclear Armageddon. And in a sense, all wars fought since the end of the Second World War have been fought in the shadow of nuclear Armageddon. What we can see with the Industrial Revolution and the pace of technological change since is humans struggling to understand and master the potentialities that technology has opened up. And in warfare, this has meant constantly that military doctrine has struggled to stay abreast of technological innovation and the technological possibilities that it creates.
Here in this research group, we're particularly interested in the relationship between technologies and modern warfare. We can think about technologies in 5 different ways, that is, armor, firepower, speed, perception, and information. The way that technology fits within modern warfare and the way that that has a relationship with political objectives is particularly important. Traditionally, warfare has been seen as an extension of politics. And what we're particularly interested in looking at is the way that technology changes that relationship. We can think of this relationship especially relevant in the case of militaries. Militaries find themselves in a very difficult position of being able to balance political objectives, martial or battlefield objectives, and technology objectives. A good example of this is the use of computers and carpet bombing in northern Vietnam and Laos, which was particularly driven by a technological innovation, but a technological perception of the way that wars should be fought. In particular, of using a historical technology from the Second World War and applying it to Vietnam tells us something about how technologies themselves started to dictate how those wars were fought. Even more than that, they started to tell us something about the political ambitions of the political objectives that we had in the battlefield.
A result of the greatly increased movement of men and supplies by truck and by motor-powered junks has been a shift from a small-arms guerrilla-type operation against South Vietnam to a quasi-conventional military operation which involves major supplies, major weapons, and heavier equipment.
The relationship between politics, warfare, and technology changes the way that we think about traditional warfare and should change how we think about emergent warfare.
Since the end of the Cold War, there has been a transformation from an industrial society to an informational society, and what some have called the rise of network societies, especially in the 21st century. This emergence of informational societies or network societies has put information at a premium, has increased our focus of interest on information. And information has become the critical currency, if you like, on which nation states have begun to increasingly stake their claim. This has led to a greater interest in how to produce information, how to control information, how to control its dissemination, its circulation, so on and so forth. It is therefore not surprising that global militaries have also focused on the benefits of information and have sought to work out ways and means by which they could use information to be able to leverage their position vis-a-vis competing interests in battle spaces. It brings to mind a statement made by Donald Rumsfeld when he said that given the changing conditions, and he was referring to this switch between industrial to informational societies, he said, given these changes, there's an imperative not only to change how we fight wars, how we train for wars, but most importantly, how we think about wars. This was reflected in official American military policy. It has also brought into focus, and particularly in the context of my own research, it has brought into focus how emergent technologies, for example, biotechnology, nanotechnology, advanced space sciences, advanced material sciences, cognitive sciences, the potential that they offer to be weaponized and put to use in global battle spaces, and what advantages they offer in the waging or prosecution of war. With the rise of analytical methods using big data analysis, biometrics, there has been an effort to rethink or reconstitute the human in informational terms. And this is of critical interest to global militaries because it allows them to focus on the principal interest of any battle, which is the human. This gives a completely different character to how war has been conceptualized and thought of as compared to the past. In the future, we expect that this trend will intensify given the unimagined technologies that, or benefits or advantages that technologies can offer. In fact, there have been some recent speculations on war and combat pertaining to the deep 21st century, which are nothing less spectacular than some very good science fiction.
So in our research, we're particularly interested in the role that information plays in modern warfare. For us, what's particularly interesting is not only how information relates to war society and technology, but also how it really works all the way down in terms of how it affects the ordinary soldier. You can imagine both an uploading and downloading of the information that the soldier provides. Everything from monitoring the soldier's fluidity, fatigue, geolocation, and other factors. Everything is going to be monitored. And you could imagine that this could even get to the point to being implanted, something that what we could refer to as neocortical warfare. This leads us to three primary transformations. The first is the larger transformation, that warfare itself is going to be based not necessarily on armor and firepower, but on information. The second is that our understanding of victory and defeat, if it's going to be based on information, is going to be malleable and unrealizable. And thirdly, we had imagined that information will be the subject of warfare itself, even to the point to we understand that this uploading and downloading of information could be the subject of warfare. And so therefore, this relationship between war, technology, and society and its relationship to information is an increasing element within emergent forms of warfare.